Hello everyone, my name is Nilanjan Das. Today I'm going to teach about the Viceroys of India. So let's start. The first Viceroys of India was Lord Canning from 1858 to 62. Following the Queen's recommendation in 1858 transferring the government from Company to the British Crown, Lord Canning was made the first Viceroy of India. His financial reforms were 5% income tax was imposed on earning beyond 500 a year. Judicial reforms. The doctrine of lapse was withdrawn. The Indian Penal Code was prepared by incorporating the suggestions earlier made by First Law Commission headed by Lord Macaulay. The Indian Penal Code was passed. Income tax was introduced for the first time in 1858. CRPC was passed in 1859. Next, the Indian Council Act in 1861 was passed, which proved to be landmark in constitutional history of India. India High Court Act in 1861. High courts were set up at Calcutta, Bengal and Madras under the prohibition of the Indian High Courts Act of 1861. Under this act, High Court were opened in 1865. During his reign, the Indigo riots in Bengal happened in 1859. Government of India Act passed in 1858, which ended the rule of East India Company. ASI was set up in 1861 and the first DG was Alexander Cunningham. Number 2, Lord John Lawrence from 1864 to 1869. High courts were established at Calcutta, Bombay, Madras in 1865 during his reign. An important event of this time was the war against the Bhutan in 1865. Anglo-Bhutan War was called the Duar Wars and the Treaty of Sinchula was signed at the end of the war. The Punjab and the Old Tennessee Act in 1868 was enacted. He is famously called the savior of Punjab for his developmental activities there. His foreign policy was called the Masterly Inactivity Policy. Two famines hit India, the first in 1866 in Orissa and the second in 1868 to 69 in Bundelkhand and Rajputana. A famine commission was set up under the chairmanship of Sir Henry Campbell. Railway was set up in Ambala to Delhi. Submarine telegraphic communications between the India, Europe via Karachi, Persia, Turkey was established in 1865 during the reign of Sir John Lawrence. Next, another important Viceroy of India, Lord Linton from 1876 to 1880. During his reign, India got a severe hit from a famine which came in 1876 to 78. The Famine Commission was appointed in 1878 headed by the General Richard Starchet. The Delhi Darbar was held on January 1877 to decorate Queen Victoria with the title Kesari Hind through Roy Title Act in 1876. The Vernacular Act 1878 was passed, putting several curbs on vernacular newspapers. India Arms Act 1878 forbade the Indian people from dealing in arms without the permission of the governor. The statutory civil service in 1877, it was also laid down that the candidates had to appear and pass the civil service examination which began to be held in England. The maximum age for this candidate was reduced from 21 to 19. In 1876, the Deccan Agrarian Relief Act was passed. The Second Anglo-Afghan War in 78 happened during his reign. Next came Lord Ripon in 1880 to 84. He was appointed by the Liberal Party under Gladstone, repealed the Vernacular Press Act in 1882. The first factory was instituted in 1881 to improve the condition of labour. In rural areas, local boards were set up in 1889. Resolution in 1882 was institution of local self-government in India. Constitution of the Hunter Commission on Education in 1882 was set up. The maximum age of admission to civil services raised to 21. The first official census in 1881 happened in India. The Famine Code was adopted in 1883. Foundation of Punjab University also happened during the reign of Lord Ripon. The next important Viceroy of India was Lord Curzon in 1899 to 1905. Lord Curzon set up the Famine Commission under MacDonald. The Punjab Land Alienation Act in 1900 prohibited the sale of agricultural land for its attachment in execution of a decree. Agricultural banks was established. Calcutta Corporation Act was passed in 1899. In 1904, the Cooperative Credit Societies Act was passed. He founded the Agricultural Research Institute in PUSA in 1903. The Police Commission was set up under the chairman of Sir Andrew Fraser in 1902. The Criminal Investigation Department was opened in East District in 1901. Imperial Cadet Corps was set up to train the Indian princes and aristocrats. The partition of Bengal happened in 16 October 1905 during his reign. The Railway Board was set up in 1905. He passed the Indian Coinage and Paper Currency Act in 1899 and put India on a gold standard. Moncrief Commission Irrigation was passed in 1902. The idea of Victorian Memorial was conceived by Lord Curzon. British pound was made legal tender in India during his reign. Minto II came after Lord Curzon in 1905 to 1910. His stint as a viceroy is famous for the Morley Minto reforms in 1909, which provided for separate electorates to Muslims. Indian Council Act in 1909 was passed during his reign. Suraj split. The split in the Indian National Congress between the moderates and the extremists in 1907 happened during his reign. The Newspaper Act was passed in 1908 during the reign of Lord Minto II. Important Viceroy of India, Lord Irwin, from 1926 to 31. During his reign, the appointment of Simon Commission happened in 1927 along with the Butler Commission. Lahore session of the Indian National Congress and the passing of resolution for demanding the complete independence Purna Swaraj in 1929 was passed. During his reign, the civil disobedience movement was launched. Gandhi-Irwin Pact in 1931 happened during the reign of Lord Irwin, after which the civil disobedience movement was withdrawn. Deepavali Declaration by Lord Irwin happened in 1929. Nehru Report was passed in 1928. The Dandi March on 12 March 1930 happened during the reign of Lord Irwin. Sarda Act or the Child Marriage Restraint Act was passed in 1929, under which the marriageable age of girls was 14 years old and the boy was 18 years was raised. Next Viceroy of India was Lord Linlithgow from 1936 to 1944. He was the longest Viceroy of India. Enforcement of Government of India Act was passed in 1935, with the provinces going to elections in 1937. First general election in 1936 to 37 and the Congress ministries in 1937 happened during his reign. Resignation of the Congress ministers in 1939. Subhash Chandra Bose elected the president of PNC in the 51st session in 1938. Arrival of Cripps Mission in 1942. Beginning of the Quit India movement in 1942. The Great Famine of Bengal happened during his reign in 1943. Divide and Quit at the Karachi session in 1940. Passing of Quit India resolution in 1942 happened during the reign of Lord Linlithgow. Lahore resolution of the Muslim League demanded the Pakistan during his reign, followed by the August offer in 1940. Next was Lord Wavell in 1944 to 1947. Arrival of the cabinet mission in 1946, the Constituent Assembly was boycotted by Muslim League, which launched the famous Direct Action Day on August 16, 1946, at the Kolkata, in which 4,000 lives were lost. This massacre is also known as the Great Calcutta Killings. This day marked at the start of the week of long nights. The CR formula, that is the Rajaji formula, in 1944 happened. Wavell Plan and Shimla Conference happened in 1945. The end of Second World War in 1945. INA trials in 1946. This all happened during the reign of Lord Wavell in 1944 to 47. Next also the Athlete Declarations in 1947, that is government intended to hand over the administration of India to our people before June 1948, even if no agreement was reached between the Congress and the Muslim League. This all happened during the reign of Lord Wavell. The last Viceroy of India was Lord Mountbatten from March 1947 to June 1948. Declaration of 3rd June Plan 1947 happened. Indian Independence Act in 1947 was passed. Partition of the country between two independent states of India and Pakistan, with Lord Mountbatten and M.A. Jinnah as their respective Governor Generals. The last Viceroy of British India was Lord Mountbatten. The first Governor General of independent India was also Lord Mountbatten. Boundary Commission Sir Cyril Ratcliffe for the partition of Bengal and Punjab was established. Introduction to Indian Independence Bill in the House of Commons happened during the reign of Lord Mountbatten. So, this is all about the Viceroy. I hope you like this video. Please give a like and do subscribe to the channel History Lessons. Thank you.